So a young man was driving his new sports car through the highways of Montana, right? He was driving through the highways, and as you go through the highways, you come across lots of different herds of things. And one of those herds that he comes across is a herd of sheep. And as he's driving along, he all of a sudden stops where he sees what must be the shepherd of the group. And so he stops and talks to this older gentleman about his sheep and about what he has, what he's doing out there and all those kind of things. And he's trying to show off his car a little bit too. And he says, "Hey, would you give me one if I could tell you exactly how many sheep you have?" And the old shepherd's like, "Well, okay, that's fine. I can do that." And so the young man pulls out his phone and he starts tabulating on it and doing all these different things, and all these different programs come on it, and it gives him an aerial view of it, and he gets the AI to count everything for him, and he says, "You have exactly 286 sheep. And the shepherd goes, "Oh, that's very impressive. I guess a deal's a deal. You can take it with you." And as he starts to take the sheep with him, the shepherd says, "Wait a minute. If I can tell you what your job is, can I have it back?" And he's like, the young man's like, "Yeah, okay, we can do that." And so the young man waits and he goes, "You got to be working for a big company and you're in IT, aren't you?" And the young man goes, "Man, you're right. I am. How did you know that?" He said, "Well, first of all, you showed up and I didn't even ask for your help. You then went through an entire process, wasting my time, answering a question I already knew the answer to, and that's my dog." So we're going to spend a little bit of time this week and next week talking about the 23rd Psalm together, talking about God and how He has good plans for us, and how He's here to kind of guide us and comfort us and help us along the way. November is typically the month in our nation where we set aside for Thanksgiving. And whether you are someone who celebrates Thanksgiving all month long, like I see people on Facebook and other social media places that post every day something they're thankful for, and they have something different every day, or you're someone who we celebrate with a big meal as a family, and we spend that time being thankful on that day, enjoying football and food and family, right? Whether it be one of those or however it is, we just have this time of the year. We have this time where our country has just said, "Hey, let's remember to be thankful." And for those of you interested in finding a way to be thankful, just remember that on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving at 6:30 here, we have a Thanksgiving reflection communion service. It's an opportunity to gather together. We read a few of the Psalms together. I have a few devotional thoughts. We sing a couple songs together, and we end with communion. And it's just a way that on the night before Thanksgiving to just pause and remember the one that we are supposed to give the most thanks to. And remembering that it's because of God that we can be thankful. And it's because of God that we have that opportunity. And then if you don't have anywhere else to go on Thanksgiving Day, or you know someone else who might be eating alone or just needs a place or needs some food, then you can send them here to the church. You can come here to the church at 12:30. We're having our annual Thanksgiving meal here, and it's just an opportunity to gather for those that maybe don't have someone else to gather with, or if you know of people who need food or whatever that may be. And so see the information out in your bulletin and in the sign-up sheet if you're interested in coming to that. But just a couple opportunities for us to pause and give thanks and be helpful to those who may need it. But in these 2 Sundays leading up to Thanksgiving, I wanted to pause for a little bit and just remember that we have a loving God who is present in our lives. We have a God who is here with us, and He journeys through this life with us, and He guides us along the way. And so what better way than to pause for a few moments and reflect on David's words from the 23rd Psalm. 23rd Psalm is that great reminder of us that no matter what we're facing in this life, no matter what we have going on around us, that we still have God's love, we have God's protection, we have God's guidance here with us. And in the times when we struggle, in the times when we're filled with sorrow, when we're mourning, and when things just don't seem to be going right, God's love and protection is still there with us. And that's what's great about the 23rd Psalm. And just this reminder the next 2 weeks that God has good plans for us. And so no matter what you're facing today, no matter what Thanksgiving looks like for you this year, we still have this reminder that God has good plans for us. The hard thing about the 23rd Psalm is that we usually associate it with one event. And it's become associated with that event more than anything else. And whether you're Christian or non-Christian, you know the Bible or you don't know the Bible, you know parts of the 23rd Psalm because it's usually shared at a funeral or memorial service. And it's shared at that time to help provide comfort and provide just some relief during that time. And the imagery is great to help give that sense of peace in your life as you're mourning the loss of someone. But let's also remember that, is it working? Let's also remember that it is a great time and a great way to just be a reminder in our everyday life. It's not meant just for a time of funerals and a time for sorrow. And so let's look at Psalm 23, verses 1 through 4 together. We're going to start with the first half this week and look at the fact that in God's good plans, that He is a good shepherd. And next week we'll look at God, the good host, as we look at the last few verses. But Psalm 23, starting in verse 1, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He lets me rest in grassy meadows. He leads me to restful waters. He keeps me alive. He guides me in proper paths for the sake of His good name. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no danger because you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they protect me." What great words from God today. Imagine being David. David as a teenager, when we read in the Bible and we read about King David, we read as a teenager he was assigned the shepherd role. He was assigned to go watch the sheep of his father. And imagine as he's out there and watching over the sheep, and he has that extra time out there, and he's spending his time. David was known as someone who was close to the heart of God, who wanted to follow God with all of his life, who did everything that he could to follow God and just bring everything together. Imagine as David's out there thinking about being a shepherd and what it means for him to be a shepherd to his flock. He has to watch over them. He has to protect them. He has to defend them. He has to help them find good places to eat. He has to help them find places to rest, where the good water is, all those kind of things. And as he's doing all that and thinking about his job as a shepherd, then the Spirit of God speaks into his life and says, "This is what I do for my people. This is how I treat my people. I am a shepherd who guides those who follow me, and those who follow me are sheep. Those who follow me are part of my flock. Those who believe in me, I am there to do the same thing for them that you do for your sheep in your flock." David was passionate for the heart of God. And so David understood. And as David understood that and was influenced by that, he starts to jot down these words that we know as Psalm 23. He passionately seeks God, and he understands the power of God, and he realizes that God sees himself as the good shepherd, as the best shepherd there ever was, and that we see that throughout the Bible. We see throughout the Bible that one of the main jobs and one of the main ways that God likes to talk about him and watching over his family, watching over those who believe in him, is that of a shepherd. That we see that they have all the different pieces in the Bible, and we know that the most popular ones, the ones most people know about, right, are the shepherds who are watching their flocks by night. And then the angels come to them and tell them about Jesus' birth. And next month at Christmas time, we celebrate the shepherds and their good story that is for joy for all the people. And so we see that, but we also know that Abraham was a shepherd. Abram was a shepherd. And then God called him. We know that Moses was doing the job of being a shepherd when the burning bush appeared before him and God called him. We know that David, of course. We also studied over the summer, we studied the minor prophets, and Amos the prophet was a shepherd at that time. And so shepherds are represented all throughout the Bible to talk about people who lead God's family, who lead others in the ways of God. We see that all the way throughout there. And so, as we read this 23rd Psalm together, as we see the beginning of this, the Lord is my shepherd. The question for you as we get started with this is, do you believe the promises of the Good Shepherd? Do you believe that He is the Good Shepherd for you and that you can trust Him with whatever it is you are going through? We look at this fact and we look at how the shepherds act and how they help people along the way. I love this. I went and found a Halloween decoration. And it's not quite big enough for my fun, but a staff for the shepherd. And my favorite part of this is not that they use the end of it to help beat off enemies and to help fend off everybody, but my favorite part of it is this part. Because what do the shepherds do with this part? They grab the sheep by the neck and pull them on the way, right? They say, hey, you're going the wrong way, get over here. And they use that to guide them. And I often think God first is probably banging me in the back of the head and then pulling me around to show me all this. But God protects us, and He uses the rod and the staff to guide us along the way. And so do we believe when we say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want? Do we believe that God provides for us? Do we believe that God protects us? Do we believe that God wants the best for us? Do we believe that there is a God who is the shepherd, and just like a shepherd is providing and protecting us in the same way? And so let's look at a few statements together from the next couple of verses. The first big statement, of course, is the I lack nothing statement. Many of you are probably more familiar with the King James Version, where it says, I shall not want, right? We live in a world that seems to be unsatisfied. We live in a world that seems to always want more. You always want the bigger and the better. You always want the next thing. You always want the newest phone, the newest car, the newest whatever, the bigger house, the better job. We're never quite satisfied with what we have. And sometimes that's okay. Because it's okay to be driven, and it's okay to say, you know what, I need to have goals in my life and I need to accomplish goals. But the problem is that we live in a world that seems to be unsatisfied, and even when we accomplish our goals, they're not good enough because we're not good as that person is, or we don't have what they have, or we're not allowed to do this or that. And so it's okay to work hard, and it's okay to have goals and be focused, but this point of I lack nothing is about our desire from inside and saying, you know what, God, I'm okay with what you've given me. I'm okay with what you've provided with me. I'm okay with the person you've made me to be and the things you've called me to do. I may be different, and I may not have the same skills as others, but I can do my part. And so we talk about that. Unfortunately, again, a majority of people around us are not satisfied. And instead, their life kind of sounds like this poem from Jason Lehman. It says, it was spring, but it was summer that I wanted. The warm days and the great outdoors. It was summer, but it was fall I wanted. The colorful leaves and the cool, dry air. It was fall, but it was winter I wanted. We saw that outside this morning. The beautiful snow and the joy of the holiday season. It was winter, but it was spring I wanted. The warmth and the blossoming of nature. I was a child, but it was adulthood I wanted. The freedom and the respect. I was 20, but it was 30 I wanted. To be mature and sophisticated. I was middle-aged, but it was 20 I wanted, the youth and the free spirit. I was retired, but it was middle age I wanted, the presence of mind without limitations. Then my life was over, and I never got what I wanted. It's interesting how that works. It's interesting that as we go, and he captures pretty well there, the idea of the transition of ages, and we always want the next age, until we get to a point where we go, I wish I was back there. Children change the toys that they want, and they want the freedom of being a teenager. Teenagers want the freedom of being out on their own and being able to do their own thing and call their own shots. And then young adults, we want to get started with our jobs, and we want to get started with life, and we want to find that person we're supposed to marry and all those things. And then we get into our job and we want to climb that corporate ladder and we want a bigger house and we want all this. And then as we get to be older adults, we value more about our health and our friendships and those people around us and how we're going to be in retirement. It seems like every stage along the way, there's always something to be wanted, something more to be desired. But this is about finding contentment in what we have. I lack nothing doesn't mean that I have everything that I want and everything that I need. It just means that I have what God has given me and what God has provided for me, and I am okay with that. And I can live a peaceful life. The Apostle Paul reminds us of this in Philippians chapter 4. He says, I have learned how to be content in any circumstance. I know the experience of being in need and having more than enough. I have learned the secret to being content in any and every circumstance. Whether full or hungry, or whether having plenty or being poor, I can endure all these things through the power of the one who gives me strength. The Good Shepherd gives us strength. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to be satisfied. He wants us to be taken care of. He wants us to be filled with a spirit of thankfulness for all that He has given us, for all the ways that He's protected us, all the ways He's provided for us, all the ways the Good Shepherd has been there to guide us along the way. And there is a direct connection. When we start with, I lack nothing, there is a direct connection then to what the rest of the verses have to say, the next couple verses. That there is a direct connection there because it has to start with that. It has to start with that satisfaction of who I am in Christ. It has to start with that fact that the Good Shepherd is taking care of me and that I am taken care of and I have what I need. And then we can start to live into what the rest of it has. You must trust the Good Shepherd in order to get the benefits of what he talks about in the next couple of verses. So we're going to look at verses 2 and 4 again real quick for you. And he says, He lets me rest in grassy meadows. He leads me to restful waters. He keeps me alive. He guides me in proper paths for the sake of His good name. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no danger because You are with me. Your rod and Your staff, they protect me. We see that the Good Shepherd does several things for us. And the first part I wanted to show there was that He allows us to enjoy some tranquility, some rest. Even when the world around us is crazy, even when we seem super busy and we seem like we're just waiting for the next stop so we can enjoy some peace, God says, even in the middle of the storm, I will give you the opportunity to find some rest for your soul. I will help you find some strength and find some peace in the middle of all that you don't have to be controlled by the things going on around you. You don't have to be controlled by all the craziness of your work or your neighborhood or whatever that may be for you. You don't have to be controlled by all that craziness. You can have my peace. You can have my rest in the middle of it. But not only that, but His guidance gives us a place to refresh. He gives us a place to go. When he talks about here that He makes me lie down in the still meadow, that is a way of just providing that peace, that inner peace for us. When life is getting difficult around us, when we feel like we need a break, when we feel like we can't handle one more thing, God helps us find that rest. He helps us find that way to be refreshed in Him so that we can continue on, so that we can have that strength and that assurance to get through and face all the challenges around us. The Good Shepherd reminds us that we're not alone. The Good Shepherd reminds us that He's there with us, guiding us along the way, but there's also other people around us who have gone through it before, or they're going through it with you, that are going through some of the same things. And so then that way He reminds us that we're all kind of in this together, that we're not facing something alone, and we're not all by ourselves. It says He gives us a sense of being guided by Him through it. That through it all, He is there with us. He will show you the right way to go. Just like the shepherd with the sheep is guiding them to where the fresh water is and where the good food is and where the shelter is and away from the things that He sees that are dangerous and hard for them. The Good Shepherd is there paying attention. And he says, listen to me and pay attention to me. Hear my voice. And I will guide you and I will protect you. And I'll help you get through whatever it is you're going through. And that's that next part. The Good Shepherd gives us protection, he says there. One of the great lies of Satan, one of the great lies of the evil one, is that you are all alone. That God has abandoned you and no one else knows what you are going through. No one else understands what it feels like for you. And so we become isolated. We become set apart from everything else. We get separated from using the shepherd. We get separated from the herd. And we feel like it's just us facing all the challenges. And that's the lie that the evil one likes to give us. When in reality, God has given us a whole herd of people who have all been through things too. That have all been through similar things together. Maybe this will be a little tough, but I want to take a little impromptu survey here. I want you to raise your hand if one of these things applies to you. If you've ever been lied about by somebody. Right? Okay. Look around. I'm not the only hand up, right? Okay. Next. If that lie has ever turned into something that has damaged your reputation. Okay? There's still a few people, right? Okay, thank you. Raise your hand if you've ever lost someone close to you. They've passed away. Okay? Most hands, right? Raise your hand if you've ever lost a job somehow. Maybe you've been fired or the job has just ended or whatever. Okay, thank you. Raise your hand if you've ever dealt with something you've considered a fairly serious health issue. Okay? Okay, and the last one. Raise your hand if you've ever had to amuse your pastor by raising your hand. I'm just seeing who's paying attention. Yeah, good stuff. But here's the thing. That's just a small sample, right? That's just a small sample of this room. And for a majority of those things, and the list could have gone on and been bigger things and deeper things. But the idea, again, is that the evil one likes to have us stray away and likes us to believe that we're all alone and believe that it's just us and no one else understands. And instead, the Good Shepherd says, no, we're all in this together. You're not alone. I am here to guide you. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to show you where there's rest. I'm here to show you where you can find peace. I'm here to show you how to get through this tough time. And not only am I here to show you that, but I have given you people around you who are part of your herd, your church family, who have been there before, who can be there to be an encouragement, who can pray for you, who can walk with you, who can help you in some way. I have given you all of this herd together. And it's that reminder that the Good Shepherd is there, and that's what he does for us. And so then, when we transition to John chapter 10, we read Jesus, and we read Jesus' words that say, I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. We've heard about shepherds. And we've read about shepherds and all the things that they do. If someone was to come and attack them, the shepherd gets between them and the herd. If a bear comes, they jump in front of the bear to fend it off. If a lion comes, if people come, the shepherd is there to protect. When you feel all alone, when you feel lost, when you feel unsafe in this world around you, the Good Shepherd has come to stand in the gap for you. And the best way that we know is that because Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd, and then he demonstrated being a good shepherd for all of us. That Jesus came so that we can receive forgiveness, and we can receive love, and we can receive the peace. We can receive all these things in the first half of the 23rd Psalm. We can receive all those things in God because of Jesus. In John 10, and just the verse before what I just read, it says, the thief enters only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came so that they could have life indeed, so that they could live life to the fullest. The evil one brings with him lies, cheating, stealing, and death. He wants to bring the destruction of all of society. He brings with it all that selfishness and looking after me. He wants to separate us from the Good Shepherd. He wants to separate us from the herd. Jesus has come so that we can enjoy life to the fullest, so that we can enjoy the life that God intended for us to live all the way back in creation. That when God created Adam and Eve, he had a set of guidelines. He said we can be together and we can be in relationship together and we can walk together each and every day but you have to follow me and follow my ways. And Adam and Eve chose not to. They sinned, they disobeyed God, and so they created this brokenness in the relationship. But the Good Shepherd has continued to come and continue to be here so that we can have that relationship restored. That Jesus is the Good Shepherd who did what was necessary, what was needed, so that we could have our relationship with God restored, so we could return to the flock. We could return to the way that God intended, the way we are to live God's family. There's a story of a little boy who worked with his parents in a carpentry shop in Jerusalem. And while they were working one day, they were pushing on him to help them as they were assigned to make crosses for the Romans. And one day the boy was really resisting. He really didn't want to make any more crosses. And the parents insisted that you have to. We have this contract. We have to. This is how we make a living. But the boy began crying and said, I cannot do it anymore. And the parents asked, why? What is wrong? What happened? And the little boy responded, well, yesterday I was out in the marketplace and I saw Jesus of Nazareth. You remember Jesus. He's the guy that we like to go listen to talk. He's the guy that would teach and do miracles, and a lot of people would gather around him. This Jesus that we've learned to trust and enjoy as a great teacher, he was in the middle of the marketplace, and he was carrying one of our crosses. And he had to carry it all the way to the hill. And on that hill, he was nailed to my cross. The parents tried to insist to the boy and tried to calm him down, and they said, no, it wasn't one of our crosses. There's lots of families that make crosses. It couldn't have been one of ours. It had to have been someone else's. And the little boy, still insistent, said, no, it was one of ours. Because what you don't know is that when you're not looking, I sketch my name into the side of the crosses that I've worked on. And as I was watching Jesus carry his cross down the street, he fell at one point, and the cross fell onto the ground. And I looked, and there was my name etched on the side of the cross that he was carrying. This little boy took in very personal. That was my cross that Jesus died on. The reality is, it's all of our crosses. The reality is that Jesus is the Good Shepherd, and he knows all of his sheep. He knows how many there are. He knows all of us by name. And the reality is, all of our names are etched on the cross. All of our names are there, that Jesus says, I have come and I have died for all people. I always like to point out that nowhere in the Bible do I see Jesus died on the cross for all people except for, and there's a list of names. There's no list. Anyone who chooses to believe in Jesus, you can receive the benefits of Jesus dying on the cross. The forgiveness of your sins, the restoration of your relationship with God, the peace and the comfort and the protection and the guidance that we're talking about in Psalm 23, that is all yours. All you have to do is listen and accept the Good Shepherd. To accept that Jesus died on the cross for you. The Apostle Peter puts it this way for us in 1 Peter chapter 2. It says, he carried in his own body on the cross the sins we committed. He did this so that we might live in righteousness, having nothing to do with sin. By his wounds you were healed. Though you were like straying sheep, you are now returned to the shepherd and guardian of your lives. Our name was on that cross. The Good Shepherd took our names with him when he died on the cross. When he defeated death and rose again, he had our names with him. And so if you have nothing else this November to be thankful for, maybe it's time to be thankful for the Good Shepherd who guides you, who protects you, who gives you a place to rest, who is there by your side journeying through this life. Sometimes beating off the enemy, and sometimes pulling you along the way to show you. But it's up to you to choose. So as we enter into our reflection time, we have a new song for many of you. On Wednesday, I showed it to our Wednesday group so you had an idea. But we have a song that's a great reminder of the good plans that God has for us. If you need to take with you a reminder of the 23rd Psalm, up here on the altars we have these little bookmarks. Whether you read it, you put it in a book, or you have it sitting on your dashboard in your car, you have it on a mirror somewhere so you remind yourself every day that the Good Shepherd died for you. Feel free to come and take one of these if you want one, and take that with you as a great reminder. But this time of year especially, we have the reminder that it's up to us to choose. You have the right to choose to believe that the Good Shepherd has good plans for you to have a good life. Please stand as we sing this song together. If you feel you need to come and pray, feel free to come to the altars or sit where you're at and pray. Talk to God. Make sure that you've accepted the Good Shepherd into your life. If you need help with that prayer or need help with something, just let me know. I'll be sitting right here. Just come and ask me, and I'll talk with you through it all. But after we sing this song together, we will then close in our time of prayer together. Thank you.